Borda sit maechtunod wedi bod rhwng i'r I a Criso I fi'n cartref mwyn. Or what passes for such these days. Now in Saesneg. And now in English. Good morning, my strange people. How's your day been? I'm Ruan, and welcome to my spooky home, which for now is like it's a motel. There's a story behind that. No, I don't feel like getting into it. I think I explained this in my previous stream um, in this series where I read from here. And as you see, I'm a good, oh, maybe 20% of the way through. So yeah, I'm not going to get into it until after the fact, just because I have only so much interest in it, to inviting people into my problems. But if you're new here, please feel free to join in the chat, hit like and subscribe if you are at least vaguely entertained by that. Oh, hello, Kathleen Struchen. Good to see you here. Uh, and here is Murnau, here to say hello. And we've allegedly got 2 people in the chat, and 1 like. Sweet, already. And as I said to somebody on Instagram, um, I subscribe to Funty Times on YouTube. Hello, Murnau. Please sit, cat, or walk away. I don't care which. Just. But yeah, as I said to so yeah, I subscribe to Funty Times on YouTube. Cat, seriously? I know everybody wants to see your butt. Um, so yeah, I subscribed to her on YouTube, and I noticed a couple days back she had a community tab post asking, hey, if any of her viewers have lost 75 pounds thereabouts or more, and have kept it off, feel free to contact her via email or Instagram DMs. I went with Instagram DMs. And excuse me, Kat, are you for real right now? And she had a few questions. I answered them. No, Kat, seriously, Murnau, you. I know everybody loves you. You're such a cute little foofin. Really? I answered them. They're about like somebody's financial situation, like, you know, at 100 pounds heavier versus, or in my case, it was about 100 pounds heavier versus now. I do think I added that I still am hoping to lose an additional. Let's see. Okay, this morning I weighed in at 12 stone 1.2, which is an interesting. So it's like 12-12, right? What an attention hog. Gotta love. He is. He's gorgeous, and he knows it. And that's how he knows he gets away. And he knows that's how he gets away with everything. Is because he's as adorable as he is annoying. I will say that much, and I think I said that much in my last stream. Like, this cat is equally annoying and adorable, and he knows it. Like, you can tell he knows it. Anyway, where was I going? Right, yeah, the Funty Times little questionnaire that she sent me. I don't know how I'm going to compare to a lot of people, but just just in case, you know, she uses any of my responses in her video. um, I explained that I was at my heaviest when I was still living with my ex in Lansing, and he made the overwhelming majority of the decisions and purchases, even on food. He also still has, to my knowledge anyway, a near daily fast food habit, like you know, or restaurants in general. When I was there, we were eating out at a restaurant, usually a fast food place, between 4 and 7 times a week. Like, I cannot stress enough, like, how bad of an influence he was on my eating habits and therefore my size. So yeah, I mentioned that, like, yeah, as of this morning, I'm 12 stone 1.2, whereas about a week and a half ago, my weight was like 11 stone 12. So yeah, like a 3 pound difference thereabouts. It's not a big deal to me. I'm not gonna beat myself up, over, a difference of like 3.2 pounds over about 10 days. That kind of thing can be expected, especially given that, uh, I got, well, with my own, with my own restaurant habits, I have, um, my own junk food habits. I have like two designated days a month where I allow myself to splurge on junk food. If I do so more times in a month, obviously, like I will like mentally try and figure out, like, okay, is this, do I really want this? Do I really, um, Kathleen says that you started at 478, now at 276. Oh, nice. Nice. That's 202 pounds lost. Yeah, go ahead and go see Funty Times. Either, like open up a secondary tab right now and and like go like FUNTIE space TIMES. Her avatar is a little flame looking thing. I think it's some kind of like little like hearth flame sort of thing that it looks like. Let me see here. FUNTIE. Funty Times. Yeah, it's some kind of like little flame looking thing, inner thing. And yeah, like there's a community tab post doing a call uh for questionnaires. Let's see. Okay, this was 3 days ago, and I think I um messaged her later that day. So it says, "Hello everyone, planning to do a video and need some help from some of you," as in her viewers. "If you've lost 75 plus pounds or recovered from binge eating disorders, I'd like to get some information on the resulting changes. It won't take very much time, so if you want to help, please email uh, Funky or send a DM at the locations below, which looks like it's just like Gossip Clouds, GOSSIPCLOUDS at gmail.com, or Instagram.com/funtietimes, FUNTIETIMES. So yeah, if you're not already subscribed, go do that. There is a chance that she may be using some of my answers to this questionnaire in an upcoming video. Murnau, I swear to God. Yes, we all see you with your opulently fluffy tail. So yeah, my heaviest was about 19 stone, which I did the maths. That's actually, it was like a hair under or something, right? So like technically something like 18 pound 13 or something, or 18 stone 13. But yeah, it was like in the area of 19 stone or 265 pounds thereabouts. Currently I am, let's see, I did the maths. So I'm gonna count my weight from a week and a half ago, just because, the stars. Yeah, he knows this is more his stream than mine, and like about half the time, and he loves it. He loves it because he knows. I know he's figured out somehow. Probably when, um, because he seemed to like really hike this up a bit when, in 2020, when my therapist at the time and I switched to um Zoom meetings. So and I know he's figured out that when I'm talking to the little robot that lives inside my pocket and yells notifications at me half the day, he's figured out that this is somehow another person in the room in some way, and therefore a way he can get attention from additional people. Like, but but yeah, so yeah, currently, let's see, I did the maths the other day. So yeah, like 11 stone 12 is in the area of 167, I think. 167, 160. Oh no, it would be an even number. So about like 168-ish. So like in the area of about 100 pounds or let's see. Um uh 14, 28, 32, 46, um 46, 70, 84, 98. Okay, yeah, so in the area of about 7 stone. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've lost in the area of about 7 stone, and my ideal weight is in the area of about 8 stone. My Libra app that I use to track my weight, which um, I'm not always the most consistent about when I enter in my current weight. So uh so it doesn't always give me like the most it doesn't, I don't know. I don't weigh myself literally every day, and even weeks when I do weigh myself almost every day, um or closer to every day, I don't always enter it into Libra. Like I'll enter it into Libra like at most twice a week, but at the very least every week and a half thereabouts, just because I'm like, I don't want to put too much pressure on myself. And I know, in part because my mother was a nurse and my stepmother was a social worker who, part of her job as a social worker was not only, cat, seriously, was not only doing like home visits with her caseload, but also she ran nutrition classes for mothers on WIC and the EBT cards, or as it's known in Michigan, the Food Assistance Program (parentheses FAP). This is a thing. This is a thing on the Michigan EBT website. It literally is. I wish I could make this up. I know I periodically post something about it on Instagram just because it's so funny. Cat, I swear to, okay, he touched it that time. Oh my gosh. Yes, Murnau, I swear to God. Thank you. Okay. But so yeah, I've still got in the area of about 4 more stone to go. Um, that I mean, when I entered in, um, 11 stone 12 a week and a half ago, it gave me an estimated, it estimated, I would meet my, 7 stone 11 goal weight by like late November if I continued on that trajectory. But, like I said, I'm not gonna beat myself up too hard if I don't even meet it by the end of this year, because as long as I stay, like on a steady downslope toward, 7 stone 11, or, the area of 8 stone, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Um, I'm okay with that. But yeah, like I was saying, in the questionnaire Funty Times sent me on Instagram when I, responded to her call for things, um, was that like the biggest bad influence on my eating habits was when basically I didn't have to worry about paying for it. And oh yeah, any progress is good progress. Like, and like I said on my dumbass TikToks, when I fell off my bike early in June on my way to pick up my glasses, and I thought I was being clever, right? Because the bus schedule said that I could get off the bus in front of the children's hospital, well, like kind of kitty corner to the children's hospital. I think that's a Midwest term that's largely confined um, to Michigan. I saw this somewhere that like very few people outside of Michigan will refer to it as kitty corner. Like it's on the diagonal, right? So like there's the children's hospital here, parking structure here across one street, and then there's like another street where like there's like just like the one like it's got a big block, right? Like so it's like a T, it's like a T cross, right? So like there's the children's hospital, parking structure across the street. Then across that street, there's another parking structure, but also like, like a walk path of pavement, going between that and another building. So it's like I got off the stop at the the thing, the parking structure diagonal across from the children's hospital. Okay, fair enough. And I could tell from the bus schedule that it said, okay, I could get off there and then wait for one of the U of M blue bus connectors that would take me closer to the Kellogg optical shop, and I could sit there and wait 10 to 15 minutes for the connector to come pick me up and drive me less than 5 minutes, or it estimated that I could take my bike the rest of the way, which was a little under a mile. And I know from going to the gym that, and I usually set I set the resistance thing on the stationary bicycles at Planet Fitness to random, in part just because it seems to mimic the way that, like, because Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti are in part of what's known as like the Huron River Valley. Like, as far as valleys are concerned, it's pretty low key, right? It's not like, we're surrounded by mountains like they are in Salt Lake City, right? Um, but it's pretty hilly in this area of Southeast Michigan, and so Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti are in the Huron River Valley, or, the quote unquote basin of the Huron River Valley. But it is still kind of hilly around here, and I am hoping to do that bicycle tour of Wales that I keep threatening people with. I'd really like to do this next year, come summer, but, as long as as long as I'm able to both um, work out enough to cat seriously, uh, as long as I figure I'm able to work out enough to stay um to be physically fit enough to complete this bicycle tour of Wales in about 6 to 8 weeks, during which Nigel will be coming with me because he's the one I'm told will go on a hunger strike if I'm gone more than 2 nights. And we can't have that. We cannot have a starving house panther, right? Nigel, you know I'm talking about you, don't you? Yeah, she does. He's over there by my pile of laundry because he's a strange cat. He's oddly obsessed with me. But but um but um but um but so yeah, like I select random because, like I say, it seems to most closely mimic, because like then you're just like given like, you know a random assortment of, hill like tension on the pedals, right? So um yeah, I'll select random. I'll hike it up to like 4 or 5, on their little resistance scales on the stationary bikes. So, where was I going with this? Right. Okay. Funty, diet and exercise. But yeah, like, um, okay. So, but yeah, like Scott Bestex, I love him. I still consider him one of my best friends in the world because, as I say to my aunt, who asks me about him every time I call. I don't know why. Like, she knows he and I have not been a thing for at least 10 years now, but she still asks about him. Uh, why? Like, I don't get this. My whole family, like the ones who have met him, love him for some reason. Damned if I know why. Like, they met him for like maybe a good hour. Like, and that was like not all at the same time either. It was just like, met him at my dad's memorial service, and that was it. He had like maybe a combined hour, maybe two tops with my family, and they love him. They've decided that he is one of the greatest people in the world. Damned if I know why, but he's also a he was also a terrible, terrible influence on my eating habits. Um, I don't really know why, but it just kind of worked out that way. And like I said, he's got a terrible fast food habit. Um, Anywhere between 4 and 7 times a week, fast food specifically. A lot of times he will have, like a more sit down restaurant experience, and, like eat the entire restaurant-sized portion, which, like I know from, just like looking at the recommended calorie intake for someone of about my height to even maintain my current weight, which is still a good 50 some pounds more than I would like to be, right? It's not really a, it's not, it's a lot lower than what I was eating when I was living with Scott. So, yeah, like one of the biggest reasons that I lost so much weight, so in that first year alone, like that first year alone, I um I easily lost 80 pounds in that first year. Granted, some of it came back very easily, in part because, I still wasn't eating great, but I was eating, more moderately than I was with Best X, and and I definitely put back on, but like that after that first year, like I maintained that 80-pound weight loss. I'm pretty sure I gained back um about uh yeah, about 2 stone total in that first year and a half of, the C-19 lockdown precautions and all of that. So, like I said, I gained back about a good 2 stone, so almost 30 pounds. Um, but again, like this completely goes against the fat acceptance, health at every size movement's claims that, oh, well, 95% of people who, intentionally lose weight will gain it all back within 5 years and then some. And I'm like, no, first off, I did not. Um, like I lost that first 80 pounds just by, well, eating out a lot less, especially a lot less fast food. Um, Cat, I swear to God, please lay down. Please lay down, 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 down. Ugh. So yeah, that first 80 pounds that I lost very easily in like the first year, like if even that long, um, and I maintained keeping that off for, let's see, so that was 2014, and it was like 2020 before I put back on that, that additional 2 stone, or, 28 pounds thereabout. So so yeah, that I maintained that weight loss of 80 pounds for a good 6 years, right? So it was a good 6 years that I lost and kept off 80 pounds. And then, all hell broke loose in March of 2020, and within that first year and a half, I put back on a little under 30, which, okay, yes, that is a regain, but it is nowhere near, you know, a regain of the full 80 that I'd lost in the first place, much less and then some. So here we go. We've got a straight out lie. Like, and it is not difficult at all to find people, both online and off, who have lost a significant amount of weight and kept it off for far more than 5 years. Like Richard Simmons, for starters. Um, Oprah, her weight has always gone up and down throughout her career. Um, so, like, I'm a little hesitant to use her as an example, but she seemed to have maintained, um, for quite some time, like her most recent weight loss. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I don't feel like going to look up pictures of Oprah, through the ages, but yeah, like a lot, and like not even like, full celebrities, like, YouTube even has plenty of people who have, you know, lost a significant amount of weight and kept it off for far more than 5 years. And if you take even about half of the comments from, on these people's videos at face value, like, and assume they are fairly truthful when they speak, um, it is way more than, 90 to 95%, it is way more than, 5 to 10% people who have, even when you adjust for, the same people commenting on various YouTubers, right? So it's like there we go. Like there is like a straight up lie coming from the fat acceptance, and HAES community. So anyway, it's getting on about 25 minutes into this. I usually like to take the first 10 minutes to let people start flowing in and all that. So I've gone like way over my usual allotment. Yes, Murnau, I see you. You are floofy and cute, but I'm trying to do something here. And but as I started, before I noticed Kathleen Struchen in here, yeah, if this is your first time, though looking at the thing, though I know the thing that indicates how many people are in chat often lies to me. So yeah, if you're in and this is your first time, hi, I'm Ruadhán, and this is my thing that I do. And if you are entertained by this in any way, if you find the info useful, informative, or at least decent enough white noise while you're doing something you actually care about, feel free to hit like, subscribe, bell notifications, yada, yada, yada. If you are especially entertained by this and have some money to burn, I'm on Patreon. I've also got a current PayPal generosity network fundraiser going, links in the description box below, and on with the show. So, um, Thursday, I read the preface and about half of the introduction to Fat is a Feminist Issue by Susie Orbach. Um, Friday, I reread the entire introduction to same book, and then I took Saturday and Sunday off. Saturday because I literally like fell asleep or something, and yesterday because I kind of just forgot, and by the time I remembered, I was just like, fuck, I don't want to deal with this right now. So today we are continuing with what is fat about for the compulsive eater. And if this is your first video in this series, um, Fat as a Feminist Issue is well, first off, you should go watch the first two, regardless of whether you begin with this one or not. So this is, as the cover says, a self-help guide for compulsive eaters. This was originally published in 1978. This printing was from, looking at it, I would say the early 1980s. It is definitely from the first Berkeley edition, which was first published in April of '79. So because it was originally published in '78, and I have printing from the early to mid '80s, this does use a lot of older terminology, but as I pointed out when I was inserting my own commentary from the intro and preface, a lot of this is still, I want to say impressively, but it's kind of like appallingly still relevant, especially when you consider the current state of the obesogenic environment that, especially here in America, we live in. Like, this is contributing to a, now global obesity epidemic. And people love to crap on those with a restrictive ED, such as Ms. Eugenia Cooney, who honestly, like, there's a French video that Dorian at Verbs and Alters recommended a lot of people to. The YouTube auto translate is actually fairly decent. Granted, like being a French speaker, she speaks a lot faster than I'm used to. Like, I know there are some like genuine studies that people who speak English tend to speak more slowly than people whose first language is something else. Like, this is, I don't get that, but I definitely believe it. Um, so and I've never been the fastest reader, but it is what it is, and like people love to crap on the restrictive EDs when, like I said, the young woman who did this video about Eugenia Cooney and the and the way people online especially have mistreated her throughout her, you know, 10 plus year YouTube presence is severely disproportionate to the actual rates of Anna Nervosa, right? So yeah, like the moral panic is definitely around the quote unquote restrictive EDs, whilst like a good 5 times as many people struggle with binge eating disorder. So anyway, what is fat about for the compulsive eater? Page 27. And I am one of those people who, where did it go? To hell with it. I'll use a Kroger coupon. I'm one of those people who has to like move the thing along because part because eyesight, part I think just like the way my ADHD brain wires me to read. So many people who are compulsive eaters underestimate the connection between their eating and body size. Oh, wow. already, already, right? Just already just like going straight for it, you know, with because this has been commented on by just about everybody I've seen doing critiques and commentary of the fat acceptance community. What's left? So far it looks like I know Kathleen Struchen also I've seen her go by Emerald a lot of times. She was on for a bit, but right now you're it so far. Hopefully more people will join in. If you wish to invite anybody else you know to come watch and enjoy, like, comment, subscribe, perhaps Patreon, perhaps my uh, PayPal fundraiser that I'm doing to, you know, keep myself and the cats off the streets for at least a few more days. I'm going to be talking to people tomorrow. This is my plan for tomorrow, is to just like go forth and bug the crap out of people who work in, you know, offices. So, but yeah, like already the first chapter of this begins with something we see is still appallingly relevant with the current fat acceptance community. Can you be goth and still wear those Yes, of course. Um in but I mean, yeah, literally. For starters, I've seen them in black, but that's not necessarily a requirement, though it does help, as I believe Ligeia Resurrected has said. Yeah, good for you. Okay, the compulsive eater often experiences her eating as chaotic, out of control, self-destructive, and an example of her lack of willpower. At the same time, however, she may say that really she just likes to eat a lot and is too greedy for her own good, and that if it were not for the pounds and inches all this eating put on, she would be quite content. Some women say that if only there was a magic pill that allowed them to eat and eat incessantly whilst remaining at their ideal size, they would be quite happy. Indeed, women have had bypass surgery to achieve this state. So it is clear that people do see a connection between overeating and obesity, and they attempt, through various deprivation schemes, to keep their overeating to a minimum so that they are not too fat. What is crucial about this connection from the point of view of breaking the cycle of compulsive eating slash dieting, however, is something often overlooked or misunderstood both by compulsive eaters themselves and by those who try to help them. This is the idea that compulsive eating is linked to a desire to get fat. Now, this point is not very obvious and can be difficult to understand. However, it is vital that we address it when trying to understand the immovability of the compulsive eater's seemingly bizarre relationship with food. If one recognizes that compulsive eating habits express an interest in being large, many things fall into place, and the possibility of breaking the addiction to food is there. Compulsive eating is a very, very painful activity. Behind the self-deprecating jokes is a person who suffers enormously. Much of her life is centered on food, what she can and cannot eat, what she will or will not eat, what she has or has not eaten, and when she will or will not eat next. God damn, this is like only mid-paragraph here, and yet again, like we see these thoughts echoed in like the various like podcasts and writings of Virgie Tovar, who is that woman is something else. Like that woman is something else. Okay, much of her life is centered on food, what she can and cannot eat, what she will or will not eat, what she has or has not eaten, and when she will or will not eat next. Typically, she cannot leave one mouthful of food on her plate and finds herself eating both at mealtimes and all through the day, evening, or night. Much of her eating is done in secret or with eating friends, while in public she is the professional dieter and much admired for her abstinence. If she wants to eat cake, she will go to the bakery and pretend that the cheesecake she buys is for her daughter or a friend. She will have it wrapped and only dare to eat it out in the open when she thinks no one will spot her. Alternatively, she will buy some candy and hide it in her pocket, stealthily putting it into her mouth while she walks or drives along the street. The obsession with food carries with it an enormous amount of self-disgust, loathing, and shame. These feelings arise from the experience of being out of control around food, and compulsive eaters try numerous ways to discipline themselves. Many think that if they do not have access to food, they will be all right. Therefore, if a compulsive eater lives alone in her kitchen closets and refrigerator, Therefore, if a compulsive eater lives alone, her kitchen closets and refrigerator will probably contain only the most meager range of foods. The kitchen will seem almost medicinal with its skim milk, ice milk, cottage cheese, dietetic sodas, and jellies that masquerade as real food. Allison, a 29-year-old zoologist, explained the pitfalls in her system of banning enjoyable foods from her apartment. She woke up in the middle of the night and felt driven to eat. She had been binging all evening, so there was virtually nothing except dry cereal in the apartment left to eat. For the last 2 weeks, she had had in mind a batch of homemade chocolate chip cookies she had baked for Greg, her upstairs neighbor. Greg had gone away on vacation, and Allison knew that there were still some cookies left because, while watering his plants, she noticed the cookie tin sitting on the kitchen counter. She got out of bed and took the keys to get into his apartment, found the cookies, and stood there eating them all. She felt she could not just have one or two because that would not be enough, and if she ate a substantial number, when he returned, Greg would realize some were missing. Allison's solution was to stand in his freezing cold apartment and eat the lot, hoping that when he returned, he would not remember that he had left any cookies at all. If the compulsive eater lives with others, the kitchen is more likely to be full of appetizing foods than that she denies herself or feels she must deny herself. Helen, a 50-year-old mother of two, who has been watching her weight for the last 30 years, is so petrified of the food in her house that she has arranged with her husband that he lock the kitchen door at night. She has a coffee percolator by her bed and celery and carrots on ice, and she is banned from the kitchen on all occasions except when preparing family meals and eating her dietetic version of them. Her situation is just an extreme example of what many compulsive eaters go through in their attempts to stay away from food. Helen brought her husband in on her problem, but for Allison, it was of paramount importance that nobody else knew that she was eating in that way. Many women with compulsive eating problems find it excruciatingly painful that others should think that they themselves are large because of the amount they eat. They cannot bear other people making the connection between food intake and body size. This explains, in part, the public side of the compulsive eater who eats sparingly. Other women feel differently. A new and highly publicized method for weight control is a procedure of wiring the jaws together. The women involved in this treatment have been extremely large, well over 250 pounds. That sounds so small compared to nowadays, doesn't it? Like, especially if you go on to, F.A. Hayes TikTok, that just sounds so small when compared to some people. But at the same time, at my heaviest, I was about 15 pounds bigger than that. So, and I'm 4 foot 11, and I'm a grown ass man who stands 4 foot 11. Anyway, um, while their teeth are braced and wired, they subsist on a liquid diet. The braces are loosened once a week so that the teeth can be brushed. The various ways of coping with the situation, although particularly extreme, capture the desperation that many compulsive eaters experience and illustrate how compulsive eating is both a very painful activity and one which is enormously hard to give up. When people repeatedly act in a way that causes them a lot of pain, we look to the possible reasons that are involved. Labeling such behavior simply as self-destructive, for example, does not increase one's understanding of the forces behind compulsive eating. Instead, it judges the activity negatively, and this provides yet another reason for the compulsive eater to adopt a self-deprecating attitude, which is relieved only by a binge or yet another timetable to lose the weight. It is our experience that before an habitual activity, in this instance eating compulsively, can be given up, the reasons for it must need to be explored. As I argued earlier, getting fat is a very definite and purposeful act connected to women's social position. This would be largely in the introduction, which was my previous stream on this. Before giving up compulsive eating, the meanings of the fat for the individual woman must be explored. In giving up compulsive eating, she is almost certainly going to stabilize at a lower weight. In order to feel at home with this new constant weight, and, more importantly, her smaller size, the compulsive eater needs to understand what her previous interest has been in being overweight and in being preoccupied with food intake. Excuse me. If she can understand how her fat has served her, she can begin to give it up. So, this goes over the now, as I said before, even earlier in this stream. Oh, hi, Cody. I just noticed you're here. Okay, you're saying forgive my bluntness and not to be rude or confrontational, and I realize Ruadhán is a man now. So, what's this about feminism? It isn't. Um, uh, First off, no. Gender transition is not antithetical to feminism. Um, that's 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 a whole other can of worms. But I've I don't know. As for the question of why I'm reading this, first off, I love vintage self-help books. Please don't ask me why. I've read You're Okay or I'm Okay, You're Okay, or was it You're Okay, I'm Okay? I've read that so many times. It's kind of fascinating. So like I love vintage self-help books. I love vintage sociopolitical discussions of various types. I've I love the Norman Lear oeuvre of the 1970s. So, we're talking about All in the Family, Good Times, Maude. I think those are the big three. I think there were a couple other spin-offs, but those are the big three that, like people still watch today. And oh God, All in the Family especially is like appallingly still relevant, especially when they go into, talking about inflation and the job market crash and all that. It's just, it it's appallingly relevant for something that's going on 50 years old, right? Um, and this is much the same. I find that, that especially US society has made so little progress in the last 50 years. But yeah, like the last couple of well, the last few paragraphs, like most of what I've read up to right about now to this like, little page break here is it just seems like this is why a lot of people have been calling out Tess Holliday and her claims of um to have anorexia nervosa because she doesn't fit that diagnosis at all. First off, um unlike, first off, like she doesn't meet the diagnostic criteria for, a nervosa of either typical or atypical presentation. Like she simply doesn't. Secondly, her she has, I mean, oh, then again, like according to a video I watched a few days ago, she's suspiciously removed a lot of her TikTok and Instagram video content where she's publicly binging on various foods. So like she's removed a lot of that to, try and, uphold her own lie, even though it had been there for forever, and many people have downloaded it and mirrored it on their own, their own pages, either like in a compilation form or otherwise. It's just, oh God. But yeah, like this seems to mirror like exactly why people, call out Tess Holiday and say, no, you're not anorectic, you're a binge eater. Because this whole like, public persona of, oh, I don't eat very much at all, really, I barely eat myself. But then like, in private or apparently on live stream, in the case of Tess Holiday, who I still struggle not to refer to as Tess Munster because I'm freaking old, I guess. But anyway, like, but then like as soon as nobody's looking, there goes the binging. So it's about, so like what this book refers to as compulsive eating. Now many people who would have been referred to as compulsive eaters in the 70s would now fit the criteria for diagnosis of binge ED. So yeah, this is exactly that. Like this is why you get so many people who, claim to be, well over, like in any BMI category, especially especially obesity classes 2 and 3, for their height. You get so many people saying, "Oh, well, I actually don't eat that much at all," and that's like, well, yeah, that's only what you show us. In fact, like I'm realizing that, um, I think it was during a puzzle stream a couple years ago. I went on about like how I am self-conscious about people watching me eat because I realize how big I am, especially at the time. Especially at the time, I've dropped a good 2 stone. Um, um, I've dropped a good 2 stone since that. Well, I've dropped at least a good stone since that puzzle stream. Anyway, but yeah, like I've redropped 2 stone since I want to say mid 2021. But yeah, but um, but yeah, like I noticed that I would say like I'm, like I said it on a puzzle stream that I can get really self-conscious about people seeing me eat because I know how big I am and I know how that would reflect on what I'm drinking right now. It's a sparkling ice with caffeine. It's cherry vanilla flavor. So it's a flavored sparkling water with some caffeine and artificial color. Okay. Okay. As she continues, in this chapter, I shall describe 6 important steps we will take in the groups. 1, to demonstrate that the compulsive eater has an interest in being fat. 2, to show that this interest is largely unconscious. 3, specific exercises are done to bring this theme to a woman's consciousness. And as the preface says, she's Susie Orbach, and I believe Carol Munter was her was her collaborator in these early women groups that she had attended and continued on. She did say that she did a lot of work with men, but she had yet to form a solid hypothesis, much less theory, on the psychological basis for compulsive eating in men. But that's why the language in here is so focused on women and relates a lot of things to the to like 1960s and 70s feminism. Okay. Okay. Specific exercises are done to bring this theme to a woman's consciousness. Okay, yeah, the desire to be fat and the unconscious um underlying interest in being fat. Okay, so 3 specific exercises are done to bring this theme into a woman's consciousness. 4, once this interest in being fat is recognized, the meanings for each individual woman can be explored. 5, then we ask whether the fat does what it is supposed to do. 6, we help each woman reclaim aspects of herself that she had previously attributed solely to the fat. Okay. Okay, so because fatness has such negative consequences in our culture, it may be hard to imagine that anyone could have an interest in getting fat. To be fat means to get into the subway and worry about whether you can fit into the allotted space. To be fat means to compare yourself to every other woman, looking for the ones whose own fat can make you relax. To be fat means to be outgoing and jovial to make up for what you think are your deficiencies. To be fat means to refuse invitations to go to the beach or dancing. To be fat means to be excluded from contemporary mass culture, from fashion, sports, and the outdoor life. To be fat is to be a constant embarrassment to yourself and your friends. To be fat is to worry every time a camera is in view. To be fat means to feel ashamed for existing. To be fat means having to wait until you are thin to live. To be fat means you have no needs. To be fat means to be constantly trying to lose weight. To be fat means to take care of others' needs. To be fat means never saying no. To be fat means to have an excuse for failure. To be fat means to be a little different. To be fat means to wait for the man who will love you despite the fat, the man who will fight through the layers. To be fat nowadays means to be told by women friends that men aren't where it's at, even before you have had a chance to know. Above all, the fat woman wants to hide. Paradoxically, her lot in life is to be perpetually noticed. Excuse me. These popular conceptions of fatness, while accurate, present an incomplete picture of the compulsive eater's experience. Excuse me. There's also something positive to be gained from being fat that we must explore. I'm not suggesting that the desire to be fat is a conscious one. Indeed, I would argue that people are largely unaware of it, and it is not at all easy to discuss this in the abstract. In the groups we do the following exercise to provide us with insight into some of the ways in which fat serves us. I suggest you close your eyes. Wait. Oh, okay. I suggest you close your eyes for 10 minutes and have someone read you the following fantasy exercise. Oh dear. Imagine yourself in a social situation. This could be at work, at home, at a party, whatever. Notice what you are wearing, whether you are sitting or standing, whom you are talking to or having something to do with. Now imagine yourself getting fatter in the same social situation. You are now quite large. What does it feel like? Notice what you are wearing, whether you are sitting or standing. Notice all the details in this situation. How are you getting on with the people around you? Are you an attractive participant or do you feel excluded? Are you having to make more or less of an effort? Now see if you can detect any messages that this very fat you has to say to the world. Is there any way in which you can see it serving you? Are there any benefits you see from being this fat in this situation? When we do this exercise in the groups, we get a variety of responses, and many are what one might expect. They include feeling like a freak, an outsider, or a blob, or assuming that whomever one has had contact with was doing so out of pity or was also a freak. But more significantly, people were able to see a new meaning in the fat. For many, the fantasy sparked feelings of confidence and substance as though the fat represented concrete strength. For others, being fat felt very safe, as though it were an excuse for failure, and that in worrying about body size, the women did not have to think about any other possible problems in their lives. Some women felt that being fat protected them insofar as it allowed them to contain their feelings. Other women talked of feeling comfortable in their bigness and warmth and having plenty of love to give to others. However, the most common benefits that women saw in being large had to do with a sexual protection. In seeing herself as fat, a woman is often able to desexualize herself. The fat prevents her from considering herself as sexual. Having done the exercise, so many women report feeling relaxed at a party, not feeling they were on show or had to compete, but were comfortably talking to female friends. Others felt the fat separated them from the kind of women they had ambivalent feelings about, the ones whom they perceived as self-involved, trivial, and vain. Others felt that it meant they could hold their own and keep unwanted intruders away. Many women felt a relief at not having to conceive of themselves as sexual. Fatness took them out of the category of woman and put them in this androgynous state of big girl. As people in the groups are slowly able to incorporate these positive aspects and benefits into their views of fatness, they begin to develop a different self-image. The image of fatness, then, is no longer one-sidedly negative, inextricably tied up with an ugly vision. Instead of regarding themselves as hopeless, helpless, or willfully destructive, they can see that their compulsive eating has had some purpose, that it has had a function. As this function becomes more apparent, it is possible to be more generous to yourself, to regard the compulsive eating and the attempt to get fat as a way in which you have handled particularly difficult situations. The compulsive eating can then be looked on as an attempt to adapt to a set of circumstances rather than as irrational, crazy behavior. I would now like to explore why these images of largeness are comforting, what it is that women are saying they feel more capable of when they are fat. Many women experience the social expectations placed on them as unattainable, unrealistic, undesirable, burdensome, and oppressive. Central among these expectations is the feeling that women should be, on the one hand, decorative, attractive, and an embellishment to the surroundings, and on the other hand, that they should do the hard concrete work of raising the children, running households, while at the same time maintaining jobs outside the home. For many women, the physical model of the shy, retiring flower, demurely smiling beneath lowered eyelashes, is too frail and insubstantial to accomplish the daily tasks of living that are their responsibility. As such, to these women, the fat represents substance and strength. Harriet, a 35-year-old community worker who lives with her husband and two children, put it this way: I had the feeling that my fat gives me substance and physical presence in the world. It allows me to do all the things I have to do. In the fantasy, I saw myself in my office, sitting at my desk and taking up an enormous amount of space. I felt the capacity to do anything I needed to do, challenge my boss, and fight more effectively for the community group that I'm there to serve. I felt my strength in this exaggeration of my size. Then in my fantasy, I went home, and with the realization of the extra bulk, it struck me that I walked into an antagonistic situation with my fat as my armor. As I walk into the house, I am reminded of all the tasks that have to be done there that I either execute personally or direct others to do. I feel quite angry about all this, both about feeling so bossy, but of course also because the terrain of the household is mine, and not by choice. So I see the fat in this situation as making me feel like a sergeant major, big and authoritative. When I go through this fantasy seeing myself thin, what immediately strikes me is just how fragile and little I feel, almost as though I might disappear or be blown away. Barbara, a 27-year-old book jacket designer, talked about the annoying expectations of many of her male colleagues. She felt that her bulk and substance was an expression of her need to be noticed as a productive human being rather than a decorative accompaniment to the environment. She felt that whenever she looked the slightest bit sexy, and this corresponded to the way she looked when she was thin, her colleagues only reacted to the sexual aspect of her. She experienced this as both a frightening demand and also a deflection from her work. As it is for so many women, taking her work seriously was quite a struggle for Barbara. She had grown up with the idea that she could work for a couple of years after school and then get married and have children. But ideas had changed, and by the time she left college, she wanted to work and to have a career rather than for a stopgap measure. This decision was not trivial. She felt she had a lot of support for her change of mind because all her friends were also pursuing work as a central part of their lives. But Barbara was in conflict about her capacity to be a good worker, not because her artwork was erratic, second rate, or inadequate, but because she was battling with an unconscious idea that taking herself seriously in her work life was inappropriate. In the group, we were able to expose this conflict, and Barbara saw how difficult it was for her to be thin/sexual on the job because she and the men there collaborated in trivializing her. She felt the only way she could hold on to that aspect of herself was that was involved in a career was by having an extra layer covering her femaleness. As she said, "The fat made me one of the boys." In the group, we also worked to expose the conflict that Barbara felt about the different models of adult female behavior. The one she grew up with, which was modeled not only by her mother's life, but also on a popular conception of femininity in the 1950s and early 60s, and a model that she and her contemporaries were struggling to articulate, a view of womanhood that was less limiting and struck at the very roots of women's oppression within the family. This conflict is, in my experience, a difficult and painful one for many women, and not one that will be resolved by a sudden flash of insight. In the groups, it is important to realize that the goal is not necessarily to resolve this or any other conflict which may lie at the root of the compulsive eating. What is important, however, is that the conflict be brought to light, that the woman should understand that it exists and that eating compulsively is not going to make it go away. It may cover it. The fat may provide for something less threatening to worry about. But the critical issue is to make the woman acknowledge the conflict so that it need not be expressed indirectly and hidden from the person who is expressing it. This acknowledgement then becomes a powerful weapon in the fight against compulsive eating. It is very reassuring to discover that there are substantial reasons for why one is eating in such a seemingly inexplicable way. It provides one with the tools. Thus, when Barbara, for instance, noticed that she was binging, she could ask herself what was really troubling her. If she did not come up with any spontaneous answer, she could review her day or events leading up to the binge and see if there were any incidents that particularly encapsulated her conflict about who she was, or about if she did not come up with any spontaneous answer, she could review her day or events leading up to the binge and see if there were any incidents that particularly encapsulated her conflict about who she could be as a woman in the world. In this way, she could decode her own behavior. This then gave her a chance to intervene on her own behalf, and she could move on to ask herself whether being fat in that particular situation was really going to help her out. Okay, so this example of Barbara that she uses, and, in the preface, Ms. Orbach, explains that, all names have been changed, and anonymized, but, so the Barbara example is a lot more comparable to, like a lot of men I know who've struggled with, compulsive eating or outright BED. But that makes sense because, the Barbara example is used to, illustrate like what the, second wave feminist, newly independent women were, finding themselves in a situation, of. It's like, Like if you're feeling like, you're not taking seriously at work, or you just have other, life stresses that, you can reflect on what the hell went through your day, or, just like most recent events that are, influencing your desire to binge. And, and I would really like to see Orbach, have followed up these two with, something, because she did say in the preface that, she has worked with men, but this book is going to concentrate on, the majority of her work, which was with women. So I would have liked to see her, do a, do a follow up that included, her work with men, or I don't know, maybe this is in the most recent edition, like because I know it's in a current edition that includes both volumes, and I think it's been like expanded and revised a little bit. But as I said, I love vintage self-help books. It just, to some extent, I find them fascinating. Um, so, okay. So one meaning of the fat is the woman's need for recognition in the work setting. But another theme that frequently comes up is almost diametrically opposed to this. It is often the case that people's fat fantasies are widely different, and that even within the same person, the fat may express different meanings. Barbara, for example, could see the use of the fat in her attempt to be taken seriously at work, but at the same time, we discovered her fat also symbolized her fear of being successful both in work and courtship. Oh my god. Wow, does that ever date this book? People would now say in work and dating, or in work and romantic relationships, right? Now, no, this says in work and courtship. Wow, this that really dates this, doesn't it? Uh, Her fear of success, of course, stems largely from the social position of a young woman of today, growing up with contradictory messages about what she can accomplish. Stepping outside what has been laid out for one is frightening. A useful protective device is to make the assumption that one will fail. In Barbara's view, the excess weight provided her with an excuse should she not succeed in love and work. She found out that she could not bear the idea that her work life or love life would not be satisfying once she had committed herself to trying to have both. She felt sure that if there were failure on either score, it would be attributable to a character weakness on her part. The idea, in turn, was so painful that she focused instead on her weight as an excuse in the case of potential failure. As long as she was overweight and love and career did not quite work out as she'd hoped, she could imagine that if she were thin, everything would be just fine. Thus, this fantasy allowed her to exert some control over her circumstances, as though in an inspired weight loss, she would be able to sort out social attitudes to women at work and love relationships with men. Oh my god, is this so relevant still? Like, okay. In Barbara's case, the fat served two distinct purposes, albeit somewhat contradictory ones. Firstly, it provided her with a way to express competence on the job. Secondly, if she did not succeed at work or in her love life, she could blame her excess weight. As these two themes emerged in the course of her therapy, Barbara was able to see that getting fat was a personal adaptation she had made in trying to cope with the very difficult situation. In addition to being able to expose the conflict, she was able to see the dilemma of a young career woman today and how she felt she had to deny or solve the difficulties facing her entirely on her own. Other women in the group identified with what Barbara was going through, and as they began to share their difficulties, they broke their individual isolation and feelings of impotence, which had in part led to the weight gain. Failure and success are powerful concepts within our world. Very early on, we absorb the idea that a limit has been set on what is available, and we learn to compete with what is around. If we are successful, we are rewarded. If we are unsuccessful, Our lot is to suffer. When we are very young, it is hard to see quite how the odds are stacked or in whose favor, and the competition seems fair, with failure or success being the individual's fault or triumph. As we get older, excuse me, excuse me, as we get older, we may question the basic assumptions behind the scramble or even how the pie is divided up. Whether it is the number of possible A's in a class or the division of labor itself, but ideas absorbed and structured into the personality die hard and feel almost impenetrably lodged. While we may reject the notion of competition because of the devastating effects it has wrought in relationships between people as well as in world politics, we may nevertheless find ourselves unwittingly competitive. Competitive feelings get triggered in a situation of scarcity where there is not enough to go around, or where only a certain number of people can be rewarded. The apprehension of possible exclusion or denial can foster either a desire to compete individually for some of the scarce resources, or to sort out cooperatively a way to deal with the shortage. Another alternative is to opt out of the competition. But by and large, as we grow up, we are encouraged to compete against others. In school, this is expressed through grades or which team you make or your position in class. But girls and boys, women and men, are trained to cope with scarcity and competition in different ways. The cliche of let the boy win at tennis expresses an aspect of the competition which between women and men. We learn that if there is a game between the sexes in which one side has to lose, we had better make sure we are the losers, as in women. In general, men are taught to compete against other men for jobs and status. They gain prestige in the world of work by being better than other men, and they measure their success by comparing it with that of others. Although women also exist in the world of work and literally always have, like that is one thing that I really dislike about first and second wave feminism, is that it focuses near exclusively on the middle and upper middle classes. It just Cody's asking, please review your Orlando. Highly. Yeah, I could, I suppose. Hi, Nigel. Hello. Hello, my love. Hey, sweet boy. How's my Nigel? Got cat bombed by Murnau at the beginning. Oh, hello, my sweet. Hi. Nigel, but do we want lap? Come here. Nigel. Oh, I love you too. Okay. Yeah, I've got this balanced against a book on a bed. Okay. Although women also exist in the world of work, men are rarely encouraged to compete against women because they do not tend to take women's presence in traditional male preserves very seriously. Similarly, women are strongly discouraged from competing with men or each other at work. Women are forced to compete with each other for the man who will help the winner secure her social position. A woman's success in the world continues largely to be regarded as a reflection of her husband's status. Though we are seeing this a little bit less, I've seen the shift in my lifetime. It's been very gradual, but we are seeing this a little bit less than in the 70s. That's, like I said, that doesn't mean it's been completely evened out. It's been a very gradual shift, but yeah, okay, this is a lot of sad. In this battle for social survival, women are essentially competing on the basis of their sexual appeal, while other aspects of their personality are viewed as attributes to be paraded in the attempt to secure a man. Women's liberation is challenging this value system for both women and men. However, those of us in our 20s and upward have grown up with these values and ideas, and although they are being shaken up, they nevertheless continue to play a significant part in our personalities. So, Leslie, given that this was written in the 70s, this would be, okay, so that was about this book is going on 45 years old, probably 46 or 47 years old in terms of like the actual timeline in which it was finished, before going through the various stages of the publishing process. Yes, Murnau, I see you. Thanks, I like your little licks. You're so cute. Yes, you are. This cat is as adorable as he is annoying. Trust me. Where was I going with this? I had a thought, and then it wandered away. Murnau, did you kill my thought? Yes. Yes, you're very, very sweet. I love you. Fundraisers unavailable. No, that's not true. It shouldn't be unavailable. Unfortunately, I cannot. Unfortunately, I can't. I don't have an easy way to access that right now. But if you go to paypal.me/Ruadhán, Ruadhan, it'll go to the same account, right? It'll go to the same thing. And I'll take a look at that link after the stream. Cat, seriously. I'm nowhere near done with this chapter, but I think I'm going to wrap up on I think I'm going to wrap up at the next page break. Yeah, because this is getting a bit long. I'm already past an hour, and cats want dinner, and I want to see what the hell is going on with this link of mine. But hi. Yes, I see you. Cat, I swear to God, you're... Actually, let me check something real quick as far as the fundraiser thing goes. Okay, my channel. Okay. And then... Okay. Open up this thing, and I'm going to hit the pause. Murnau, I swear to God, you're being really irritating right now. Okay, so let's see. Got my thing and my other thing. Okay, so here's the thing. Right click, new tab. Sure, accept cookies. What the hell? Okay, it is saying can't find this. Looks like that thing is no longer... That is... Okay, I'm gonna... That is... Okay. Okay, this is... Yeah, I will fix that later. I will fix that after I end this, because I can't easily do that right now. So, like I said, paypal.me/Ruadhan. Please watch the... Okay, I will look for it and see what you have to say about it. But no, I'm not a woman. I'm a grown-ass man. Getting it. I do have a job, and my primary income is Social Security disability regardless. Okay. Okay. A woman's success in the world continues largely to be regarded as a... Okay. Sexual appeal, while other aspects of her personality are viewed as attributes to be paraded in the attempt to secure a man. Women's liberation is challenging this value system for both women and men. However, those of us in our 20s... Okay, so yeah, this would be women now. Let's see. In our 20s and upwards. So this was written 40-some years ago. So you're figuring now, like, women in their 60s and older have grown up with these values and ideas, and although they are being shaken up, they nevertheless continue to play a significant part in our personalities. Often we do not realize how much a part of us they are. When we do notice these competitive feelings, we find them distasteful and inappropriate in a changing world and try to suppress, hide, or ignore them. The acknowledgement of a whole range of competitive feelings is difficult for many women, and often we attempt to cover these feelings by getting fat. The fat has several functions in this regard. 1, it provides space and protection for the feelings. Without the fat, a woman might worry unconsciously that her feelings will be exposed. There would be no difficulty in getting thin if the competitive feelings could find no place to hide and just disappeared. But problems like that never do just disappear. They either get actively repressed and reappear in another form, or they become exaggerated and and completely exposed, or they get acknowledged with the potential for being worked through. 2. The feeling of being fat, outsized, larger than life, removes the possibility of competing since everyone knows that fat women can't win and, in fact, aren't even in the same game. I see echoes of this sentiment like coming through with the various fat acceptance and HAES content I've been reading in the or seeing in the YouTube microgenre of fat acceptance critique and commentary. Anyway, 3. The very act of compulsive eating, the most frequent route to getting fat, one may be attempting to blot out competitive feelings that may have been stirred up. Again, we see the dual function of compulsive eating, to dull the feeling that is difficult to cope with and to provide a way for the energy behind the worry, in this case, feeling competitive, to be harnessed to a more familiar concern about body size. So let's see. Where's the next page break? Yeah, this is okay. I want to wrap up because Murnau is getting really annoying. That usually is an indicator that I should probably make them their dinner. Let's see. Just a real quick look at the chats we've got here. Oh, what's left is saying, okay, I guess I mistook what you were saying earlier about the disposable masks. Okay, so now I figured out what you're saying. Okay, so like the disposable ones are getting wildlife, including bats, tangled up. Yeah, that's like, honestly, I'm not a fan of the disposable ones. Like, in fact, like I'm not a fan of disposable anythings. When I do, like even the one-time use plastics, like I've got this thing that I got some watermelon in. I've been subsisting largely this last week on at the Kroger near here. You get those like salad kit in a bag things, so I tend to rinse this out and shake up the salad with about half of the little sachet of dressing that they give in those kits, you know, to toss it all together and all that. So yeah, like I rinse and wipe that down. I'm, yeah, like, but yeah, so I'm not a big fan of disposable anythings, but like if somebody is going to be using disposables, including face masks, you know, for stuff, be mindful about how one disposes of them. I'm one of those weirdos who likes to throw away other people's litter, you know, if I can, and all that. So, environmental. My guess is Kathleen Strucken. My guess is like she maybe got booted, you know, like from the chat, like just like maybe something like glitched out in her connection. Cody says, "Forgive my." Okay, I answered this earlier. Then Cody continues, only ask because your aunt is super butch, wears men's clothes, is not feminism at all, but is still a woman, which value from this form of gender diversity today she would be. No, I don't think so. Like, a lot of people like to speculate on that, and honestly, um, um, and honestly, I think, you know, there is like, well, there is definitely like a huge amount of moral panic in that as well. Like, the cat, seriously? Oh, I know it's dinner time in like 20 minutes or something, isn't it? Yes, yes. Um, but no, like there are still trans people. Like, I'm I've transitioned. I'm an effeminate gay man. Cat, seriously. I know, I know. I'm an effeminate gay man and I, at least, um, out and around town, few people have an issue with seeing me as that, and, um, usually, I mean, in the cases where somebody mistakes me for a woman at first, all I have to do is say something, and all I have to do is say something, and I guess my voice is deep enough that, you know, more often than not, they apologize for the mistake. Um, society compared with where? Well, I did live in the UK briefly, and while I do stand firm on my assessment that there are more similarities than difference between culture in the US and UK, there are also, some noticeable differences, but it's rather subtle, most of the time. Cody thinks the US is far too progressive. Oh, not really. No, it's not creating confusion or anything. Um, Jeremy fans are. Oh, the Orlando Pulse video. Okay, okay. For some reason, I was thinking that, just because like I only saw some of it. Um, I thought you were thinking like a film review of the film Orlando, which I think is based on um, a Virginia Woolf story or novel. The film version stars Tilda Swinton, um, who is like um, the character is like born and reborn as I think first a woman, then a man, then a woman again, or maybe I got that in the opposite direction. But it's a really interesting film, and like I mean, it's got Tilda Swinton in it, so of course it's going to be fabulous. Um, Cody's asking me about my HRT. No, I take Androgel, and I've actually been a whole lot calmer. Like people who've known me for 20 some years have noticed that my temperament has changed for the better. Like I'm a lot more chill and relaxed. So, uh, okay, I'm seeing somebody saying stay pure blood, and that is not acceptable here. What the hell? Yeah, that's not acceptable here. No. Um, why is this a live event if we can't talking? Um, because I'm reading some, like, I don't know. I don't think all live streams necessarily have to be like, a call and response kind of thing. Uh, Cody says, like changing genders doesn't fix the problems of life. No, it doesn't fix every problem, but it does fix the problem of gender dysphoria for those who experience it. So, I mean, there is that. And what's left is claiming there are zero benefits to masking when there has been significant research that shows the contrary. Do not pseudoscience is not appreciated around here. Yes, I do. I do see men. That is my um, my I am attracted to men, like pretty much exclusively. Okay. Cat, seriously, you're adorable, but we'll shoot $20 donation. Review it. Yeah, I'll take a look at that, but as we can see, I've got. Really? He loves being thumped. Please don't ask what. Really? Okay, now he wants me to come and feed him, so I'm Morticia Wannabe. Came here from Angela Bennett. Oh! Oh, really? Angela mentioned. Wait, is Angela live right now? Or did she just mention me in general for some reason? Either way, I'm grateful for it. Let me see. A-N-G-E-L-N. But yeah, I'm open up this thing. Really? Why is this? Oh, okay. Yeah, Angela's a total sweetheart. I love her like a sister. Um, but yeah, I've got cats who want their dinner, and I'm going to fix this PayPal link. Hopefully, that would be great. I think it just might be something that I think it might just be something. You're welcome to feel any way you wish to about Angela. But I I know um, my opinion is based on knowing her a bit better than some people who hate her seem to. So so yeah, you're welcome to have your own feelings. But yeah, pretends to be every goth friend will come. Uh, now I don't. Honestly, I've spoken with Angela about that, and we've both. Uh, Angela and I both came to the conclusion that Dorian isn't as much of a shit stirrer as we think they, at least at one time, believe them to be. That and that's fine. Like, we're allowed to change our minds, and we don't necessarily have to announce every change of opinion publicly. I mean, I think that would help to some degree, but like, people seem to be under the impression that even at one time I hated Dorian, which has never been the case. Um, like, that's never been the case. Like, have I critiqued some of the things Dorian said and done? Yes, I don't deny that, but um, I was I was saying that from, I think, what should have obviously been a bit more of a lighthearted tone than my critiques of Black Friday, but that's that's another story for another time. Like, so, like, people want to get the impression that, like, any sort of critique is hate, and I think that's dumb. But you know at the same time, I think Dorian is, like, really savvy um as far as promoting oneself online goes. Like, they seem to know exactly how and when um to get the most interaction from people on YouTube and Instagram and all that. And I wish I was even, like, half as savvy as Dorian is in that regard, um like, they've they've all but got it down to an art, right? And the reason I say all but is because obviously there have been times such as the, Lolita debacle from last year, I believe, that really did seem to come down hard on Dorian's mental health. And um but but yeah, um Morticia Wanna Bang Bang says liked Lygia resurrected, but then turned her back on Leia Mouse and Angela after uh I was uh, uh where are all these names dropped? Like, I'm familiar with every name but Dumpster Dolly that's being mentioned, but honestly, I don't know. I don't. I'm not here for drama. I'm not here for, you know, inter-clique whatever. I'm here to talk about stuff I like, which is mainly like um, goth music and art. I like talking about books. I like going antiquing. I love my cats. Um, I love my cats. I love art and DIY. This is what I do. Like this is what I'm here for. I'm not here for any kind of interpersonal hubbub. Yes, there's that video of mine from, oh, I want to say like January, maybe February of 2019, where, like I went on the offense toward it's Black Friday, and I don't regret anything I said in that. In fact, I stand behind at least 90% of what I said in that. Um, in retrospect, could I have been a little bit nicer? Sure, but at the same time, just about everything I said in there was true. And so I stand behind it. And if people still want to like give me crap for that, it says more about them than it says about me. Um, but uh but yeah, oh yeah, yeah, I know Leia Mouse is from Ohio. Like me next to you, she likes to sing. Oh yeah, yeah, I'm familiar enough with Leia Mouse. Um, yeah, I do miss seeing Sarah Darlene's uploads. It took me a while to figure out. In fact, like I needed actually like I lost a bunch of my old YouTube um script outlines. Like when I script a video, it's more like kind of an outline of points I want to bring up because I like the fact that I, get a little bit more chatty in things. But yeah, um I, I it would be really it would be a beautiful coincidence if that was like her real like first and middle name, but I realized one day, oh my gosh, her name Sarah Darlene seems to be like a tribute to Sarah Gilbert, who played Darlene Connor, who, the character on Roseanne and now The Connors, who had a goth phase in during the 1990s when the character was in high school, which is just like if that is coincidentally like her real first and middle name, or even reversed, like maybe Darlene Sarah, if that is like coincidentally like her actual name that like parents gave her, that is a beautiful coincidence. If it is indeed a name that she chose for YouTube and other social media platforms, then that is just like so beautifully subtle, I love it. Um you remember King Gutterface? Yeah, I do, but oh, Darlene was cool then, but ironically, ah, yeah, no, no, I, that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to uh, I was here to read a chapter of a book. The chapter turned out longer than I expected it to. I also went on for about twice as long as I have for the last two chapters of this book I'm currently reading over a live stream. And I will finish this chapter tomorrow evening around the same time. I'm thinking 10:30 again. And so I got to um, so So yeah, I'm gonna get go forth and feed the cats. Um, if you wish to contribute to my current status of not being on the streets, and I mean that in the most literal sense, paypal.me/Ruadhán. If you're watching this in archive, hopefully I've been able to fix the PayPal link in the description below, but if I haven't yet, first off, please remind me to in the comments if you've watched this far. Secondly, paypal.me/Ruadhán. It all goes to the same account. And I'm going to go feed the cats. Other than that, hit the like, subscribe, bell notifications, yada, yada, yada. Be sure to wear your sunscreen. Yes, even though the days are getting shorter and cooler because the sun is still out. And technically, especially in the northern hemisphere, we are closer to the sun during winter, like, on the Earth's elliptical orbit around the sun. We're technically closer to the sun during the winter than we are in the summer. So wear your sunscreen even in the winter. Otherwise, take very good care of yourselves and have exactly the kind of day you deserve. Feel free to go and follow me on the various social media platforms that should be in the link tree that is also posted below. linktr.ee/Ruadhán, Ruadhan 1334. And yeah, like I said, take very good care of yourselves. Have exactly the kind of day you deserve. Bats and kisses. Nosta Ahuil.